How does it work? Here to explain that is Eric Wellman. He teaches EMS at Southern Maine Community College. Now, thank you for joining us, first of all.
Glad to be here.
So a lot of us don't know Narcan. Like, what is it? Like, what's the science behind it? How does it work?
So Narcan is a medication that's actually a reversal agent. So when you take a narcotic, what it does is it occupies a receptor site in your brain, and that causes the euphoria state that people have. If you take too much of it, what happens is it depresses your brain. It actually shuts down sections of it, and one of those sections is the respiratory center. So it stops you from breathing, and that's when people call because their loved one has overdosed or their friend has overdosed, and eventually that can lead to cardiac arrest, and that's what we've been seeing the big increases of. So what Narcan does is it actually finds that location, and it actually blocks the opiate that's inside. So it actually pushes it out of the way, and it actually reverses it immediately, and can immediately correct that action if given it in a high enough dose, and will move things right out of the way.
Sometimes you're seeing patients, though, who need more than one dose. Like, this is what, one dose right here? So how do you figure out?
So it really comes down to what the chemical is that they've taken. So they could have taken fentanyl, which is a much more potent version of heroin or of morphine in those cases. And the newest one that we've been hearing about is carfentanil, which is many times more effective at creating an overdose because it's such a high potency in such a small amount. So that's the patients that tend to require more and more Narcan for that reason, because they have so much on board and it has such a serious effect on them.
So as a parent, and I'm trying not to shock anybody with this question, but I want to know, do I need to learn how to use this stuff just in case, God forbid, my kid, tries something for the first time and I need to know how to use this? Is that an overreaction that parents need to learn about this?
Well, I think one of the key things to remember is that your emergency medical services groups, your local ambulance service, your fire department will likely have this medication. Some police departments have this medication, so it's readily available in that sense. And as I understand now, for many people who have an addiction problem also are getting this, and they're taking it home, so they'll have it available to them there also. It is actually fairly simple to use, but it does have some effects that if it's given too fast, that it can really make a person go into immediate withdrawal, which basically obliviates the drug and can make the patient angry, can make them actually start to violently vomit, and it immediately kicks in those withdrawal symptoms, which is where we see some of the problems that patients may have with this.
So for those who have taken it home, who have gotten permission from their medical provider to have it, what advice do you give them on administering it?
I would say give it slowly, but it really comes down to, like, this is an example of one version, which is the nasal version, which would be put in their nose and would be given in small doses into their nose. But other methods of this come out that they have injectable versions that are auto-injectors, so there's no way to really give that slowly. And some systems are actually giving out injectable versions where the person actually uses a syringe and actually injects it into someone. And again, when we teach paramedics to use this medication, we teach EMTs to use this medication, we teach them to give it slowly, and we teach them to look for the respiratory change. So we actually look for breathing changes to make them breathe more. We're actually looking for that. We're not actually looking to wake them up, because a lot of people think that's what we're trying to do. What we're actually trying to do is get them to breathe more, and that's really the goal.
Eric, stick around during the commercial break and answer some of your questions as well. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you being here, and we'll talk to you. We'll take your questions during the break.